Hello again and welcome to the Laughter Crafter channel. Well, today I've got something that's a little bit different, something I haven't done before. In fact, this is the first time I've actually made this craft myself. So it was a bit of an experiment and I hope you really like it. So are you ready? Here it is. It's a book flower display. Pretty groovy. I think it's really nice. So here's today's limerick. So flowers come out of these pages. It's easy, just do it in stages. With a book, pictures, glue, paint and small bottles too, you've made vases that didn't take ages. So there you go. What I do every time I put fresh flowers in water, I put a little half a teaspoon of sugar in the water as well, and that makes them last longer. So there's an extra free trick for you as well. So we're going to go ahead and make this now, and I hope you'll join me and have fun doing it. See you soon. So I've gathered all the bits and pieces I think I'm going to need to make this book flower display. I've got a lovely solid book here. I've read it several times, Modern Psychotherapies. That's what I do in my real life. I'm a psychotherapist, but I finished with this book and it's going to be put to good use. It's nice and thick with hard covers. I've also got this little chopstick, which I think I might kind of prop the bottom of the book open and keep it more stable. So I've got that. I've also got a glue gun, which I will be using, and some glue sticks. I've got PVA glue, and that's going to be gluing the pages. A little bit of water to thin it down a bit. PVA glue is just a white wood glue. So if you have wood glue, that's the same thing, that will work, and it dries clear. And a brush for brushing on the glue. It's also going to brush on the paint. I don't use a fancy, expensive brush. This one has been well used, as you can see. I've also got paper scissors. I've got a craft knife, which I think I might need as well. And in addition to this black paint that I will be brushing all over the book, I've also got some gold spray-on paint. And I've cut out some little pictures. Look, I may or may not use them, I don't know. So I've cut a few things out. I may decorate the book with these things. We'll see. I've also got, for the same purpose, some different washi tapes. I may or may not use those. I think I will need the peg for holding the pages open. And for creating the tiny little vases that I'm going to prop into these folded pages to pop fresh flowers in, I've got these little little plastic bottles that you know, you can get this probiotic drink in these bottles, and I thought that was a perfect size, and I can put water in these and put my fresh flowers in them, and hopefully they will work. I've got 4 of those. So if you don't have those, you can get something else about that size, but you want it to be able to hold water. I think that's just about everything that I have ready to make this, so let's make a start. So I've divided the pages of the book into thirds at this point, and you can see that this middle section here is what's going to divide up into the sections for these little plastic containers to go to hold the flowers. So that's this section here, and it's probably a little bit less than a quarter of an inch, maybe about half a centimetre. And so what I'm going to do is actually divide this lot in half, approximately half, like that, and put a peg on that side, and just something in there like that to divide that. Now I want the height of this little container that's going to sit on the table level, if you like. So that measurement goes from about there, and so I probably want to cut the paper around about 2 centimeters above the height of this little container, so around about there. So I'll measure that in centimeters. That would be 9 centimeters from the bottom. That's the bottom edge of the paper. That's 0 there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my pen and mark that 9 centimeter mark there, and there, and across here, like so. It's not an exact science, like that. Remembering that we're not cutting all the way through these pages, we're only cutting this section here. So I'm going to use my very sharp knife and start to make a cut across there like that. Alright, so I'm going to start to do that now, and keep going until I get through this section of pages. Then I'm going to make the same line across here at 9 centimeter mark and cut through this section. So I've popped a piece of cardboard underneath here so that when I get to the end of this section, I'm not cutting into this part of the book, if that makes sense. And I'm using these previously cut pages here to sort of run my knife along and use as my new ruler. So now I have all these pages cut top and bottom. I've put pegs on this top part because I need to cut these away, these top parts away. So the way I've decided to do that is with the scissors, I'm going to, instead of just chopping them off here and just having a bunch of really tatty sticky outy bits of paper, I'm going to actually take a few pages at a time and just cut round about with these first pages about halfway, then the next few in just a little bit closer to the center of the book. And I can always come back and I might just take that in just a wee bit more, those ones. I want to make a definite staggering of these pages. So you can see those are staggering. And so on. I'm just going to continue doing that. Just stagger just a little bit as I go. And I'll continue to do that, and then I'll do it on these ones as well, and we'll see what that looks like. These are my bits down the bottom, which will be bent later on to hold these little tiny vases. And this is how these top parts have gone. You can see that I've sort of staggered them. They're shorter on the inside and go a little bit wider. So that's what it should look like, I think. Let's continue. I've packed away my craft knife. It's very important to do that as soon as you've finished using it, because if it rolled off the table onto a foot or a pet or a child, that's not good. So that's packed away. Okay, so I pegged up these bottom pages, which are going to be treated differently in a little while, so that I can glue all of these pages down. So I have made a mixture of my PVA glue with about 1 little spoon of water just to thin it down, so it looks kind of runny like that, not quite as gooey and thick. So I'm going to start on these side pages, and I'm going to really kind of bend these up, try and get some. This is water-based, this glue, so if it goes onto my craft table or my green craft mat, it will wipe off later, that's fine. So I'm going to try and get right into these pages, bend them like that, and try and get some glue right in there, so that this all starts to stick to itself. I'm going to do this side as well. Lift that up, bend them right over like that, getting some glue right in there, hopefully, like so. And do a little bit of a messy job. You can wear gloves if you really want to. This dries clear, as I said before. It's white at the moment, but when it's dry, it's clear. Now, this is going to be the interesting part where I get lots of glue onto these pages. I really need to get the glue in between all of these pages to make them stick to each other and stick down flat. And I'll keep on doing that, and we'll come back again in a minute. So this is how it looks now. If these pages don't stay flat and they want to curl up a little bit, that's okay. They're basically going to behave themselves and stay like that. I'm going to keep these ones pegged apart separately. I'll put little curls on here, and you can do that or not. If you want to, it's okay. But I'm going to prop up these edges. I want this to dry in this position, not completely flat, because it won't stand up at the end if it's out flat like this. It needs to be on in this angle. So I'm going to prop up with a few more of my psychology books till I get the right angle, like this. And I'm fairly happy with that. I'm going to prop them up in that angle. Keep these ones away from the glue. Can you see that? These ones are away from the glue, and all of this glue will dry clear. I'm going to give that several hours to dry, and then we'll come back and do some more. So all of these pages are dry and set, so I'm going to glue these ones down. So I thought what I'd do, I had intended to have 4 sets of these little curvy bits, but it turns out that these are a little bit fatter than I thought, and 4 of them wouldn't have fitted across here unless the book was kind of open backwards. So in order to glue these in, I put these in here so I know that when it's all glued it's going to fit. I've got to take that peg out now, and I've mixed up some more of this PVA glue, thinned it down just a little bit, and I'm going to get in here with the glue. I was going to do this with the glue gun, but I'm not going to now. I'm just going to do it like this, pop those inside, even these pages up, and then down here as well. Right down there, right down under there as well, and do the edges of these pages too. Right down in between like that as well. Straighten them up. little bit of glue on the underneath parts as well. And then I will push those up a little bit so I can fit the peg in here, like that. Oops. So I think I'll just let that dry. So here's the book, all black and shiny and dry. I've got the gold paint. Now this is an enamel paint, which is not water-based. So I've got some gloves on. I've got black plastic down everywhere. I'm not going to cover this. I'm just going to put a few little squirty squirts around. Give it a good shake. So I'm not going to go too crazy with it. I've got good ventilation in here, and I've got to say I've got my mask on too. So that's about it for now. We'll let that dry. And I'm just experimenting with some little cutout pictures, and I think I'm going to use this watered down PVA glue to glue these on, and that's the next thing in the process. So I've glued these on, and I've used that PVA glue, just watered down just a touch. And it's important when you do this kind of thing, which is called decoupage, that you put glue on the underside of the paper, put it down, and then get some glue on your finger and rub it on the top surface of the paper as well, because what you're doing then is making the surface tension the same on underneath the paper as on top of the paper. So you'll see that that's why all of these are glued. And the other thing is, when you've got a nice sticky finger, your finger will slide over that picture and get out any air bubbles or little lumps of glue and just push them out. And so what you end up with is a nice flat surface of your picture. Well, here's what I've done so far. That's all those pictures attached and dry, and I think I quite like that. I've done some on the back as well, so that's quite good. What I think I'm going to do now is, I know I didn't list these objects in the initial list of things that I suggested that we use, because I didn't think of it at the time. I was going to use a glue gun and paint the dry glue gold, but I think I'm actually going to use gold size, because it's going to stand out more with this kind of old gold that I used from the spray gold. Like on top of black, it's kind of turned old gold. So in order for anything to stand out on that old gold, it's going to have to be bright. So that's why I think I'm just going to, I'm not going to sacrifice a perfectly good brush with this gold size. I'm going to use this wooden end and just dip it in the size and just sort of drag the end of the brush to places where I want it, just to make some dots, perhaps some squiggles, maybe a few little dotted lines. So here's the book with the gold size on it that's drying. You can still see some little bits that aren't quite dry yet, so they'll take a few more minutes, and then I'll put the gold leaf on. This is some decoupage that I did many years ago, and you might wonder why it's very yellow. The reason is that I varnished this with oil-based varnish, which yellows, whereas water-based varnish is clear. So if you're ever wanting to varnish and you have a clear finish, then use water-based. If you want this yellowy finish, which is like a sepia finish, then go with oil-based. But remember that you can really only do 2 coats a day maximum. And this, when I went through my decoupage phase years and years ago, I would do up to 80 coats of varnish, sanding in between. And this is a lid from a box, and you'll see my little daughter's my daughter is now 33, so that's how long ago I made this. That's Charlotte's photo. But this had about 70 something coats of varnish on it and lots of sanding in between, and I put some gold leaf around the rim there, and yeah, that now hangs in my hall of artwork. So that's some fun that you can do with varnish. With decoupage. This is typical decoupage where all the photos overlap, whereas this that I've done here today is just a few photos, a few pictures, and lots of negative space in between. So the gold size is tacky enough now for me to start to apply the gold leaf, or in this case the copper leaf. And I've got my gloves on, because you may remember with the leaf, the oils from our skin discolors that gold leaf. So I always use gloves when I use it so that the leaf doesn't turn green over time. I think I showed you something once before where that happened. It's still quite pretty, but if you don't want the leaf discoloring, then use gloves. Okay, I've given the gold leaf several minutes to really adhere to that gold size. So now I'm going to finish rubbing off the excess. I've just left this little tiny blob down the bottom here, which you might be able to see, because I very carefully did my initial, which is RGN, and yeah, it looked a little bit splodgy, so I don't quite know how well this will come out. Now I'm just going to rub off the excess and see if it looks good. It's starting to appear. I better keep rubbing away. I get a brush to get right in there and dig it out. Anyway, that's it. RGN. I can sort of see it. Anyway, there we go. So that's it. So now I'm going to take it all outside where there's lots of good ventilation and put on a coat of Mod Podge gloss. And you can leave the book for about 15 minutes in between coats of this varnish, and so very soon we're going to have a finished product. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed making that with me. Do the usual things, okay? Put your comments underneath if you like it, or if you can suggest a better way to do it, that would be great too. And like and subscribe and invite all your friends and do all that stuff. That would be really, really great. Okay, so until next time, I hope you have a fantastic week of laughing and crafting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.